client email came in this morning. 4 minutes later, without me touching anything, the project folder was built, the contract was drafted from my template, an invoice was generated, the project board was live in Notion, and a welcome email was sitting in my drafts ready to send. This is what running a business looks like when your operations are actually automated. Let me show you the system. I did this with Claude Cowork, which is an AI agent on your desktop that connects to your tools and does actual work in the background. Not a chatbot, but more like a team member that never calls in sick. Now, if you run any kind of service business, an agency, a consulting practice, a creative studio, you know that onboarding a new client is weirdly one of the most time-consuming parts. It's the same steps every time, but somehow it still takes 2 hours and at least one forgotten email. So I built a system that handles the entire thing from a single client email thread. Here's the full build. To get this to work, you'll need to be subscribed to the Claude Pro plan or higher. On your desktop, open up Claude and switch to the Cowork tab. Under the chat area, click the plus icon, go to connectors and enable Gmail search. Follow the instructions to connect your account. So in Cowork, click on Work in a folder and go ahead and select a folder. Then we'll tell Claude Cowork to find the last email, get details, and prepare for onboarding. This is the part that usually takes me or my ops person 15 minutes of reading the email thread, copying details into a doc, and inevitably missing something. That's 15 minutes per client. And if you're onboarding 5 to 10 new clients a month, that's 2 to 3 hours of just reading emails. Alright, now we've got the client details. Now watch what happens when we feed this into the actual onboarding system. Now we're going to tell it to create a folder structure for this new client. It'll make folders for contracts, invoices, deliverables, comms, assets, and docs. And all the names will be standardized. Now these folders are nice. They're empty. So let's fill them with actual documents. Now I have a folder on my desktop with templates of everything that needs to be built out. A sample agreement, an invoice, and a folder structure. I'm going to tell Claude Cowork to find those samples and using the client details from earlier, create a customized contract and invoice for this project. Save them into the appropriate subfolders in the client's project folder. Now this is the part most operators dread. I've built contract generation workflows in N8N before. They work, but they're rigid. You need exact field mapping, and if the template changes, the workflow breaks. Cowork just reads the template like a human would and fills it in. It's messier, but honestly, more flexible for most use cases. We've got the folders, the contract, and the invoice, but we're not done. Let's set up actual project management. Now we connect to Notion. Click on the plus icon again, go to connectors, and click Manage Connectors. Find Notion and set up the connection by following the instructions. Choose the workspace that you want to give Claude access to. Next, we're going to tell Claude Cowork to go to Notion, create a new project, add tasks based on the deliverables, set the deadlines, and add a kickoff meeting task for next week. The MCP was throwing in errors, so I had to use Claude's Google Chrome plugin. This actually worked out better because with the plugin, you can actually interact with any website regardless of whether they have a direct integration with Claude or not. Now imagine your new client gets a welcome email within an hour of saying yes, and when they open Notion, their entire project is already laid out with tasks and deadlines. That's the kind of client experience that gets referrals, and it costs you 0 hours of admin time. Now there's one more piece. The client still doesn't know any of this happened. Let's fix that. Let's tell Claude Cowork to draft a welcome email to the client. It should reference the project details, let them know that the contract and invoice are attached, outline the next steps, and keep the tone professional but warm. Cowork will go ahead and output an email draft for you to review. Now all you have to do is copy and paste the email, attach the invoice and the contract, and you are ready to go. Now here's what makes this a system instead of a one-time trick. I'm going to ask Cowork to save this entire process as a skill. So next time I get a new client email, I just need to trigger the skill and the whole thing runs again without any intervention from me. A skill in Cowork is basically a saved set of instructions. Think of it like an SOP, but instead of your ops person reading it and following the steps, Cowork reads it and executes them automatically. When you save a skill, Cowork creates a file called skill.md that contains everything it learned from what we just did: which tools to connect, what order to do things in, what templates to use, and what questions to ask. Next time you trigger that skill, it follows the exact same process without you having to explain it again. If you've used Claude projects or custom GPTs before, skills are similar, except they can actually do things. They don't just respond with text, but they can create files, connect to your tools, and execute the full workflow. To make sure skills are turned on, go to your Claude desktop settings, scroll down to capabilities, and you'll see a skills section. Search for skill and make sure that the skill creator is enabled. So let's take everything we just built and save it as a skill. That way, next time a new client signs, I type one command and the entire onboarding runs again. Alright, the skill is created. Let me show you what it actually looks like under the hood. So this is the skill.md file. It's basically the instruction manual Cowork wrote for itself. You can see it's broken into steps: connect to Gmail, extract client details, create the folder structure, generate the contract and invoice, build the Notion board, and draft the welcome email. The thing I want you to notice is this references section at the bottom. It's pointing to my contract template and invoice template. So if I ever update those templates, the skill automatically uses the new version. I don't have to rebuild anything. And if I want to tweak the process, maybe I want to add a Slack notification to my team, I can just edit this file or ask Cowork to update the skill. It's not a black box. You can see exactly what it's doing and change it. Now, you just watch me build this entire system in less than 10 minutes. And you might be thinking, great, I'll just follow along and build this myself. And you absolutely can. Everything I showed you is right here in the video. But here's what I've learned from working with operators. Client onboarding is one bottleneck. You've probably got 15 more: inbox triage, lead qualification, content production, invoice follow-ups, reporting, task management. Each one is eating 2 to 5 hours of your week. And they all add up to the reason you're working 60-hour weeks instead of 30. That's what I actually do. Inside AI Incubator Pro, I work with service business owners and agency operators to systematically remove these bottlenecks. So if you're running a service business or an agency and you're tired of being the bottleneck, there are a few early bird spots left. The link is in the pinned comment. But even if you're not ready for that, take what you learned today and go build this system. Because every hour you spend on admin work you've already done 100 times is an hour you'll never get back. If you enjoyed this video, please remember to leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more AI and automation content.